So in fact, most of the people know me that I'm a shrimp person, but I love invertebrates, freshwater invertebrates in general. But in fact, I come from, I had Malawi's for maybe 10 years. So in fact, I'm a fish keeping guy as well. Just I promoted, and I love shrimps for the moment. And now I'm starting with aquascaping. I just did release the book with Oliver Knott. Aquascaping it's more like for beginners. You probably will be bored with this book, but I also call this type of aquascaping popular aquascaping, because the Japanese style that Amano is doing, most of the people are in front of the tanks and it looks amazing, but I never can do that. So this is not my intention. What I want is use stuff that you can buy everywhere, things that you can find everywhere, so people say, hey, I can do that as well, So this is what I'm doing at the moment. So let's talk shrimps. I saw that not too many of you have shrimps in the tank, right? So, but you're here for listen a little bit something of shrimps, so you can learn a little bit something. We have, I think, more than 100 species at the moment in the trade, more or less. But we have 3 different kinds. We have the dwarf shrimps, like Caridina, Neocaridina, Paracaridina, these types. Then we have the long-armed shrimps, the Macrobrachium, these guys that always eat your fish. I have been in Hong Kong, or was Singapore, I don't remember, in a shop, and they had one of these long-armed shrimps, Macrobrachium, these long cheilies, and they had a big cichlid swimming in a tank. It was a Haplochromis, something more like that, and in the corner they had one of these long-armed shrimps, and suddenly the long-armed shrimp took the fish and cut him in half. So, and this was a big one, So what happens with your guppies or your platies? They will eat 40 in one night. So this is what's happening. And you have the fan shrimps, the filter feeding shrimps. They're harmless, like the Molluscensis, Atuya. I think you call them bamboo shrimp. Yeah, exactly. That's how they call it in the States as well. So they are more or less harmless. So we have 3 groups, and I'm starting with the dwarf shrimps. Is that what you call them? So because they are the most popular, they are very harmless, so you can put them, in fact, in every little aquarium, in nano tanks, starting from 10 liters, starting from 5 liters if you want. And I think it started, if I remember well, it started with the Amano shrimp. Have you heard of that? And it was named because Takashi Amano, the Japanese crazy guy, he had them first in his tank. He put them in the tank. He said, well, I have my little Japanese guys that clean all the time the glass, so I will make the work more easy for them. I will put some shrimps inside and see how it's going. And they did the work pretty well. They cleaned very good in a short time, kept the aquariums clean. So that's how it started. And these guys, they conquered the world. And this is Cardina multidentata. It's a shrimp that comes from Japan. I've been there, I visited the habitat. The size is about, if they really grow up, is about, what is that, 20 centimeters? No, 6, 7, yeah, 6, 7 centimeters. But they can get as, I think, about 10 years old. So it's not like the other little shrimps that 2 years, it's over. 9, 10 years. This is what we know for the moment, because I have records from people that I sold shrimps in 2003 or 2004, and they still call me and say, hey, my shrimps are still alive. And this after, like 10 years. I mean, come on, it's very unusual for dwarf shrimps that they get that old. And here's a close-up of the Amano shrimp. And this is the habitat, how it looks like. They come from creeks or little rivers that are close to the sea, because they will not reproduce in your freshwater aquarium. This will not happen. The juveniles, or when they hatch, they got all washed to the sea, and then they spent some weeks there doing one round after other, and after they developed and had different larvae stages, then they go back and migrate up the river again. So in your aquarium, if it's a freshwater aquarium, they will not reproduce. You have to put them in brackish water or marine water, and then you have to feed the larvae extra. In fact, it's a bit difficult. Not too much, but a little bit. So you have to feed the larvae extra and add 30% of salt if you want to reproduce them. They are very popular. You can buy them everywhere. I saw you have lots of them. They do a very good job. This is the thing. They are algae eaters. So also with the aquascaping, we used, when we did this book with Oliver, in fact, in nearly every aquarium, we put Amano shrimps and then some snails. The Cliton diadema, you have them as well. They do the best job ever. So if you want to have somebody working for you for less, you hire these guys. And this is how the habitat looks like. Fast flowing creek. And you can find, I found there under the roots, under the stones, you can find 20, 30 of them sitting under the rocks, you know, because they hide because of the fish. There are also big fish there, so they always they try to hide. Let's go back. The water temperature, I forgot about that. It goes down to about 5-6 degrees in winter. So in fact, for my tanks, for my shrimp tanks in the past, I never used a heater, except Sulawesi, different. But for all the other dwarf shrimps, I don't use a heater. Bad for the industry, because EHAM will not sell any heaters anymore for nano tanks. But it serves me because I can spare some, don't listen, not good for you guys. I can spare some energy. Better spend in food and other things. That's much more sense. But in fact, you don't need a heater for them. I keep them all year round between 16 degrees, and the only problem is if it gets too warm. They don't like it when it gets too warm. So I have them between 16 and 24 degrees. In summer, this is the difficult thing, to keep the temperature low, because where I live sometimes get very warm. And this is the real problem, what the shrimps have problem. When the temperature of the water gets warm too quick, they don't like it. When it gets cold quick, they don't have a problem. I can tell you why. Because when it rains in Hong Kong, all the water goes immediately to the stream, and it's usually more cold. So that's why they adapted to that. But if it heats up very, very quick, they cannot have it. Because these little creeks, usually they are on the margins, grow big trees or bamboo or stuff like that, and they keep it in like covered shadow, you know. So that's why also in Hong Kong, during the daytime in summer, the creeks are not that warm. I think 24 degrees was the highest we measured. And the more low temperature we measured was 16 degrees. And this was in March. So probably in January it was even more cold. So better keep them cool as too warm. This is what I can tell you about temperature.
For breeding.
In general, I would not, for breeding, probably 20 to 23, 24 degrees is okay. They're doing well. Yeah, but in general, I would say, hey, keep them more cool, because they like it better than having.
They breed okay.
They breed absolute okay, yeah. Depending on the species, for example, the bumblebee shrimps, Paracardina breviata, or all these kind of things, they like it with 18 to 20 degrees, yeah. If you have other shrimps, they like this is gone. Like the Cantonensis, the crystal red. Some people told me that they breed even with 26 degrees, you know, but I think that these are exceptions. Usually the average is 22, 24 degrees. We have probably some other components there in the water that also play a role with reproduction. We by far don't know everything about shrimps. The trend is a young trend. It's about 15 years that we keep shrimps. So for how many years we keep fish? 100 and more? Just the guppy had 100 years in the aquarium trade. So even I am busy a lot with shrimps, but even I would say I know that little about shrimps, even if I'm busy all the time. So don't expect of me that I know everything. You can ask me questions, I try to answer them. But nearly every year I discover some new things. When I talk to my friends here, they also have experience, and they tell me, hey, this happened to me. So it's not that there is just one thing. We always find out new things about them. It's very interesting. And I think one of the things why shrimps are so popular is because of these guys. You have seen them, right? The crystal red shrimp. And as far as we are working on this shrimp, we think it's an undescribed species. So I went to Hong Kong to find the locations, because for a long time this location have been secret. Nobody knew, because the wholesalers from Hong Kong, they didn't want that the people go there and catch them themselves, because out of this little creek, they sold shrimps for a couple of $1 million, US dollars, just of 3 creeks. Because in Hong Kong, we found, I was one of the first, in fact, I was the first white person to be on this creek. I can show you this creek later. Out of these 3 little creeks, really little,